Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now we're moving from Mecca to Yathrib. And the reason I'm calling it Yathrib is that it is not yet Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara. It became Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam enlightened it with his presence sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And from the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam arrival there until now, it should not be referred to as Yathrib anymore, but it should be referred to as Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara. But just for historical narration, we're still calling it by its old name, but we know deep inside that this beautiful place that we're calling Yathrib is Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara, the residence of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the burial place of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For anyone who has been blessed with performing Hajj or Umrah or visiting Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara, you would feel a certain peace in Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara that you wouldn't feel anywhere else. And that's the blessing of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam lived there a beautiful, it was not an easy life, but it was a beautiful life. And the people of Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara until today feel the blessings that are coming from the residence of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it's the burial place of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's another blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed upon this land. So now we are in Yathrib with this young ambassador, Sayyidina Mus'ab ibn Umayr radiallahu anhu, accompanied by one of the 12 delegates of the Muslims in Yathrib, the ones who shook hands with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the ones who pledged with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam what was named as Bay'atun Nisa. It's known as Bay'atun Nisa for a couple of reasons, or at least a couple of reasons. First of all, there was no condition of military support. The terms of the agreement did not include anything related to fighting or defense or military support. It was all talking about moral behavior, faith, belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and high moral actions. That's all. Which is basically the same ayat that come in the description that where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about the covenant or the bay'ah between the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the believing women. It's exactly the same conditions narrated in the ayat in the Quran. That young companion among the 12 who was the guide of Sayyidina Mus'ab radiallahu anhu, his name was As'ad ibn Zurara radiallahu anhu. As'ad ibn Zurara radiallahu anhu was from Al-Aws, not from Al-Khazraj. Al-Khazraj, as we mentioned, were the majority. Sayyidina As'ad ibn Zurara radiallahu anhu was from Al-Aws. He was a fine young man, and he knew exactly who are the keys to the society in Yathrib, who to approach and who not to approach. So he was sort of similar to the role that Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu used to play in the company of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When Sayyidina Abu Bakr traveled with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would tell him, stay away from this man, he's a troublemaker, or go to this one, he's a prominent leader in his community, and so on and so forth. Sayyidina As'ad radiallahu anhu had the same eye for talent or for character. He knew who to invite and who to stay away from, at least temporarily, not at this phase, not yet. So Sayyidina Mus'ab radiallahu anhu used to sit with this young group of young men, and teach them about Islam, and this group started venturing around, basically inviting people to Islam. One day, Sayyidina As'ad was sitting with Sayyidina Mus'ab radiallahu anhuma, and they saw a man from a distance. And Sayyidina As'ad ibn Zurara told Sayyidina Mus'ab, focus on this man. This is one of the keys. If he follows you, if he embraces Islam, that's gonna pave the way for many other people to follow. That leader's name was Usayd ibn Hudayr radiallahu anhu, another leader of Al-Aws. Usayd ibn Hudayr saw from a distance, with the corner of his eye, saw Mus'ab and As'ad, these young men, and he knew exactly what they were up to. So he took his spear and wanted to give them a hard time. He took his spear and came rushing quickly and told them, listen. He addressed Sayyidina Mus'ab directly. Listen, we don't want what you have. You are an intruder. You are not welcome in the city. Go back where you came from. We like our way of life. We like to live here in peace. We don't want to cause any trouble to anyone. So please leave this place and go back where you came from. Sayyidina Mus'ab thought to himself, is that the key that I'm told about? Is that the one that I should address? Why this hostile behavior? So Sayyidina Mus'ab radiallahu anhu, calm, cool and composed, put a smile on his face and told him, fine, I'm not going to say anything that hurts you. I'm going to try to alienate you in any way, shape or form, but I'm going to give you a proposition. That proposition is very simple. Sit with me for a few minutes. I'm going to give my spiel. I'm going to say my few words. If you like it, alhamdulillah. If you don't, I promise I'm going to leave. Very fair proposal. Sayyidina Mus'ab is not intruding on anyone, is not causing any harm to anyone, and he told him, just sit and listen. You are a wise man. You can judge on your own, away from any other effects that come from the outside, and you decide. If you like what I'm saying, you can ask for further clarification. If you don't like it, I promise you I'm going to stop. And Sayyidina Usaid said, fair enough. So he put his spear in the sand and he started listening. Sayyidina Mus'ab radiallahu anhu started reciting the Quran, started talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, started talking about the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, started talking about the good morals that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala invited the believers to adopt and to follow. And Sayyidina Usaid is listening attentively, carefully and politely. And Sayyidina Mus'ab could look, while he was addressing Usaid ibn Hudayr radiallahu anhu, he could see the transformation on his face. He was a good judge of character. He could read the body language of the people sitting in front of him. So he could see him. His face is not that red anymore. His body is not tense anymore. He started mellowing down, cooling down, and he's so relaxed. And he's listening, and his eyes are sort of dreamy, pondering upon the meaning of the words that he's hearing. Could it be that Islam is coming to his heart gradually? Sayyidina Mus'ab radiallahu anhu did his best with full sincerity, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide this man. If he has been described by the expert as a key, then maybe great good is going to come if this man embraces Islam. And Sayyidina Usaid ibn Hudayr was listening, and once Sayyidina Mus'ab radiallahu anhu was done with his few minutes, Sayyidina Usaid said, this is so beautiful. I like that. So what can I do, or what should I do if I want to follow that? Sayyidina Mus'ab radiallahu anhu explained to him, this is called Islam. And this is what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been sent with from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what we are preaching to this group of young men. He said, I like that and I want to be one of you. Sayyidina Mus'ab radiallahu anhu taught him how to make ghusl and how to make the shahada to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Now look at the full transformation of Sayyidina Usaid radiallahu anhu. Sayyidina Usaid has a prominent role in Islam later on, as we're going to talk about him several times later, as would be Sayyidina As'ad ibn Zurara radiallahu anhu, whose name was be repeated at least a couple of more times. So Sayyidina Usaid radiallahu anhu, as soon as he absorbed this beauty coming from Sayyidina Mus'ab, immediately understood what the consequences are. I cannot keep this to myself. I have a responsibility of delivering and spreading this beauty to other people as well. I want to expose as many people to this as I can. So he said, you know what? I know of a man who would be a great asset if he can join us. But I know he wouldn't be easy to come and listen to you, so I'm going to play a trick. And Sayyidina Mus'ab radiallahu anhu said, do whatever you want. Just bring him to me, whichever way you can, and then we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make me successful in convincing him, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helped me be successful in convincing you. So Sayyidina Usayd ibn Hudayr radiallahu anhu left, and he looked at the distance. He saw the man that he was targeting. He went to him, and he was a cousin of his. He told him, I saw this guy over there who came all the way from Mecca, and he's making fun of our gods, and he's insulting our faith, and he's doing this and that, and he's dividing the community in Medina, and he's insulting you and your family, including your relative As'ad ibn Zurara. He's insulting him. So the man who heard these news got so furious. How dare a foreigner come to our land, insult our way of life, and insult my relative? So he said, I'm gonna go and give him a piece of my mind. That leader was Sayyidina Sa'd ibn Mu'adh radiallahu anhu. Sayyidina Sa'd ibn Mu'adh was a leader of his tribe, Bani Abd al-Ashhal, which was the major branch of Al-Aws. And Sayyidina Usayd ibn Hudayr was true, who was another leader of Bani Abd al-Ashhal. Sayyidina Usayd ibn Hudayr was true that this is a man who is so prominent in his people. They love him, they trust him, they follow him. So if he embraces Islam, that would be a great victory. So he had to play this trick. He had to make this lie. But it's allowable in this case. So Sayyidina Sa'd ibn Mu'adh became so red with anger, and he went to avenge the honor of his relative As'ad ibn Zurara, who was supposedly insulted by Sayyidina Mus'ab ibn Umayr. He came rushing to that meeting, and then when he approached, he noticed something strange. He noticed that these two people who were supposed to be insulting each other, Mus'ab ibn Umayr and As'ad ibn Zurara, were talking to each other very cordially, smiling, and they seemed to be in harmony with each other. So he said, it seems that I have been tricked. It seems that Usayd lied to me. Why would he lie to me? There's got to be a certain reason. Maybe he meant for me to come here and talk to this man or listen to this man. Well, I'm here already. Let's see what he has to say. So he approached Sayyidina Mus'ab radiallahu anhu exactly in the same way that his predecessor, Sayyidina Usayd ibn Hudayr, did. Why are you coming to our land? Why are you making fun of our way of life? Why this? Why that? You should go back to the place where you came from. You are not welcome here. Sayyidina Mus'ab radiallahu anhu, been there, done that. I have heard the same argument before. So he kept very calm and very composed, and he gave the same offer to Sayyidina Sa'd ibn Mu'adh that he gave to Usayd ibn Hudayr radiallahu anhum. He told him, listen, I'm gonna give you an offer. Would you like to sit and listen to what I have to offer? If you like it, we can proceed forward. If you don't, I promise you, I'm gonna leave. Sayyidina Sa'd said, fair enough. Let me hear what you have. And again, Sayyidina Mus'ab radiallahu anhu asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for success in his mission, and he started explaining Islam to Sayyidina Sa'd ibn Mu'adh radiallahu anhu. Sayyidina Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, who was relatively young, he was in his early 30s radiallahu anhu, he kept listening, and so was Sayyidina Mus'ab radiallahu anhu. That whole group was a group of youth in their 20s or in their 30s. He kept listening to what Sayyidina Mus'ab radiallahu anhu was saying, and then he said, how beautiful is this speech? This is really beautiful. Where did this come from? And Sayyidina Mus'ab radiallahu anhu explained that these are the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent his messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to warn his people and to bring them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he kept talking about faith, and all of that time something again is running in the back of the mind of Sayyidina Sa'd radiallahu anhu, just like the first 6 people who heard the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam for the first time. This is it. This is the message that we have been warned about for so many years. This is what the Jewish tribes in Medina have been threatening us about and warning us about. This is the Prophet that we have been expecting. Let me rush to him. So he asked Sayyidina Mus'ab radiallahu anhu, what can one do to enter into that faith? And Sayyidina Mus'ab explained to him how to become a Muslim. He went, took a shower and came back and said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Now Sayyidina Sa'd radiallahu anhu, the leader, knows his responsibility. He's not only responsible for himself, he is responsible for his tribe as well. So immediately when he received that guidance, he went back home. He saw his wife. He said, stay away from me. Why? You're my beloved husband. Well, now I'm a believer in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you are an idol worshipper. She said, no, your religion is my religion. Have we heard that before? It happened with At-Tufail ibn Amr radiallahu anhu when he invited people from Daws, and now it's happening with Sayyidina Sa'd radiallahu anhu. That's basically how prominent people, trusted people in their environments act. The response is always the same. They would start by distancing themselves from their close and loved ones, and then the loved ones who do not want to be separated from these prominent figures, they would accept what they came with. Initially, it is because they trust that person, and once they know what that beautiful faith is, they do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that initial transition is the personal link between the da'iyah, the one who invites to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and his people. So his wife became a Muslim. His parents came. Where have you been today, Sa'd? He said, I can't talk to you. Why, Sa'd? You have been a good son to us. Well, because I'm a Muslim and you are idol worshippers. Your faith is our faith. So they immediately embraced Islam and he introduced Islam to them. Not only did he do that with his immediate family, his wife and his parents, but he started venturing to his village, his tribe, Bani Abd al-Ashhal. He started spreading Islam, and again, all of them trusted him, respected him, followed him as a leader. So the night would not pass without Islam spreading to most of the households of Bani Abd al-Ashhal. This is the blessing of the good eye of As'ad ibn Zurara, and then Usayd ibn Hudayr, with, of course, the support from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then with the effort of Sayyidina Mus'ab ibn Umayr radiallahu anhu. The importance of knowing the key figures in any society is very important. And that's exactly how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam focused on certain individuals, and how the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam focused on certain individuals that are considered the keys to their societies. So that multiplier effect, they knew how to read the human psyche and to understand the importance of prominent and followed leaders within their communities. Today, even we find that in our societies, what they call the influencers on social media, whether it's on Twitter or on Instagram or on other social media, there are those influencers who are followed by thousands or hundreds of thousands of people who would dress like them or walk like them or act like them. Imagine if we as Muslims had the capacity and the knowledge and the understanding on how to approach the influencers in their own communities. That is going to save a lot of time and a lot of effort, and with the will and the blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to have a great effect and a great impact. Sayyidina Mus'ab radiallahu anhu would stay in Yathrib, inviting people to Islam for another year until the following Hajj season would come, and that time he would come with an even larger delegation. Look at the progression of Islam in Yathrib. Initially 1 out of 2, and then followed by 6, and then followed by 12. And now the following year, we found that the delegation comes 73 men, and not only that, and 2 women. So gender diversity as well in that delegation coming to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to learn about Islam. 73 men and 2 women. The events that are following are so important in the history of Islam. They form a major milestone in the history of Islam. Inshallah, we're going to talk about them next time when we talk about Bay'at al-Aqaba al-Thaniya, the first covenant of Al-Aqaba. Al-Aqaba is the place where this small delegation of believers had to pledge to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, initially the 12 in that year, and then 73 men and 2 women the following year. We're going to talk about that event inshallah next time. So until next time inshallah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.